What is up, starseeds? I'm Sid, and today we are going to be talking about Andromeda Galaxy. Now, I do have a couple videos where I mention Andromeda Galaxy, mainly this video on the Andromeda Galaxy Milky Way Galaxy merge, which I believe is in the distant future, but is such a main future life for people, so I have to mention it, and that video is just a great quick 7-minute video if you guys want to check it out. But anyways, let's get into Andromeda Galaxy. I want to start off with just kind of my memories of Andromeda Galaxy because this is one of the starseed races that I relate pretty heavily to, as well as I'm sure a lot of you guys if you're watching this video. So Andromeda Galaxy is probably the hardest place for me to explain because it is a whole galaxy. It's the galaxy closest to ours, M31 galaxy, but it is still millions of light years away. And galaxies are very large. Andromeda Galaxy is also thought to be larger than the Milky Way galaxy. So it is hard to say, oh, you're from Andromeda Galaxy, this is what you should remember, this is what it felt like. No, it's a diverse galaxy. It's very unique feeling. So that's the main thing about it, is it feels happy and trippy and unique and colorful and different and expressive. But the color that it reminds me of the most is, besides all these colors that are colors meshed together and colors I don't really know how to explain, it's like a rainbow of colors over there, like I said, so diverse. But this pinky purple color, which used to be my favorite color as a little kid, like when I was younger, that's the color that my room was. The top 2/3 of my walls were white, and then the bottom third of my wall was like this pinky purple color that I loved so much, and I still do. It's still a badass color. Anyways, for some reason, that color kind of reminds me of Andromeda, but really it's more so those filters on phones. Like, I remember there used to be an app that I had on my iPod Touch that was really popular when I was in 6th grade, and you could like make music videos to these popular songs like Barbie Girl, and there was all these different filter options to record yourself or your friends in a video, and one of them, and there's still kind of a similar TikTok filter, there's like multiple different colors kind of meshing together. There's a pinky purple, there's a bluish purple, there's other colors that kind of mesh together, but it's that kind of filter that's slight rainbow of colors, or even rainbow filters remind me of Andromeda Galaxy too. Like Mario Kart Rainbow Road kind of reminds me of Andromeda Galaxy. Speaking of roads, like roads in general, fast roads, driving fast on the highway reminds me of possibly flying a spaceship at high speeds in Andromeda Galaxy. Like when I drive really fast on the highway, if it's an open road and you can go a couple miles over the speed limit, that reminds me of Andromeda Galaxy. I'm not out here speeding, you guys, but like, you know what I mean. When you're driving fast on an open highway, nobody else is in your way, you're just in the fast lane flying by, you get this sense of empowerment. And for me, it just feels like a familiar past life feeling where I was doing it, but slightly different. And I think that's my human brain's expression of Andromeda Galaxy. Me in a car on the highway is the humanized version of flying a spacecraft at high speeds in a different galaxy. That's the human version of it. Also, kind of speaking of the human versions of things, I feel like I remember Andromeda Galaxy in my dreams a lot, but I see a humanized version of it because that's what my mind can process from these parallel life experiences, I believe. I believe I have a life that's either an Antarian being or an Andromedan being, but I'm pretty sure it's an Antarian being who travels to Andromeda Galaxy and sometimes places in the Milky Way galaxy as well. But whatever this parallel life is, or whatever this thing is that I'm tapping into in my dreams, this personality of like Alexis or whatever you want to call it, it is like rebellious for a good cause. It involves operating some kind of vehicle pretty fast, kind of sneaking into certain buildings, completing a mission, and then running away from that building pretty fast. I have dreams of this vibe, or I don't remember the dream, but I have this vibe that I did something like that the night before when I was asleep, or sometimes I'll get a vibe before I go to sleep that I'm about to do something really important in my dreams in this possible parallel life involving Andromeda Galaxy. I will say that I have another video on Andromedan beings working with reptilian beings, which sounds wild and like a contradiction. Sounds like some really benevolent beings, Andromedans, working with what are known to be malevolent beings, reptilians. And you're kind of right for the most part. There's exceptions, but it's for this project that they need each other. The Andromedans needed some of the reptilians' technology to be able to help with walk-ins, because I feel like Andromedans are very involved with walk-in souls and other things like that. I forget exactly what I was thinking when I was filming this video, but I had a very vivid dream before I filmed it, so I would recommend going and watching that video if you are curious to hear more about this stuff that the Andromedans are involved in. A lot of people say Andromedans aren't involved with Earth, but I tend to disagree. They're involved with Earth very heavily, but in very different ways than, say, the Pleiadians or other beings. Pleiadians are involved with more direct contact. Arcturians are involved with more sub and unconscious healing. But the Andromedans are involved with things behind the scenes. They're involved in trying to align us to timelines that have, the highest potential, the highest good, like the most beneficial endings. So they are trying to alter timelines for Earth's benefit. They're involved with things like that I cannot comprehend, and the Antarian beings are helping them with that. And we're the ones doing it too. Like, it is very common, I believe, to have parallel lives in Andromeda Galaxy. That is the #1 parallel life that I see with people, and it is also the #1 future life that I see with people. I've done readings for people who have had Andromedan past lives in the Andromeda Galaxy. I've also done lots of readings for people who have Andromeda constellation past lives, which is different. It's the same Andromeda Galaxy lineage, but the constellation in the Milky Way is a different thing. It's a constellation, it's not a galaxy, it's not as diverse, it's more specialized. They're explorers, they have a lot of the same kind of starseed traits as Andromeda Galaxy people do, but it's a different vibe in Andromeda constellation. It's more of a Milky Way vibe because it's the Milky Way. I don't really know any other galaxies by name. I've explored some other kind of galaxies, and I don't have a name for them, but it's really only a handful of these other galaxies that I've seen, or a handful of races who are a part of a galaxy that I don't have a name for. But Andromeda Galaxy and the Milky Way Galaxy are definitely the closest intertwined galaxies that I've seen. Obviously, it makes sense because that's our galaxy and the one next to us, but it is very beautiful to see the meshing of cultures, of ancestry, of energetics, of ideas between these two galaxies. And I believe that's why we're moving closer together. That's why we're merging. It's destined because we've been doing this since almost the start of the Milky Way. So yeah, if you guys were hoping for some vivid memory of Andromeda Galaxy, I'm sorry I can't give you that right now because I simply don't have it. My memories so far are of these vivid colors, of driving fast, of flying fast, of being rebellious for a good cause, of just being totally weirdly unique, okay? Very spacey, very floaty. I do have this memory of being like a frog kind of being, slightly different than a frog, but similar, and laying like hundreds of little circle eggs that were my babies. I don't know if that was Andromeda Galaxy or not. If I had to just take an educated guess, I would say it's an Andromeda Galaxy, but I'm really not sure. Overall, that life feels very loving, very nurturing, and that's really all I have to say about it. It wasn't anything super, important or exciting, but it's something that I've seen in my own records. As far as what I believe Andromedan galaxy beings look like, I will say I do think there's different kinds. Like, I think they're a diverse galaxy. Obviously, there are different looking beings, and it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of ordeal. I will say I do believe they are bluish, purplish, greenish skin tone, most of them, and most of them are bald. I have seen versions, maybe it's my human brain trying to humanize things, of seeing Andromedans with hair on the top of their heads, but for the most part, I think they look comparable to Arcturians or Sirians, but mixed with human, because we are from their DNA lineage. Obviously, we have these other races mixed in with us, but I believe that the Andromedans seeded Lyra, and Lyra helped to seed Regulus and the Pleiades and all of these other places like Cygnus, Aquila, etc. I do believe this human look came from modifying Andromedan genetics. Like I said, sure, there's mixed in things with it, but the human look, I do believe, is an off-branch of that Andromeda galaxy look. Andromeda galaxy people are very, very passionate, very creative, very mission-based. They like to just freeball, and they're all about freedom, and they want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. They're all about just going off on a whim and doing things when they feel like it. They're very much so go with the flow people, but they are also very driven and mission-based, especially the Andromeda part that is linked heavily with the Milky Way galaxy. I do believe there's distant parts of Andromeda galaxy that really aren't focused on the Milky Way at all right now. They're not worried about our Milky Way project because they're in the Andromeda galaxy to have an Andromeda galaxy experience, as they should. But then there's also that part of the Andromeda galaxy that is closely linked with the Milky Way that is common for humans on Earth to have some sort of experience with, remembrance with, maybe, telepathic contact experience with, because it's the part that's linked with the Milky Way. Drop a comment and let us know what reminds you of Andromeda galaxy. What activities you do that make you feel a connection to that, what colors you see or what symbolism you see that reminds you of Andromeda galaxy. If you guys have had a qhht past life regression experience, let me know if you've had any memories of Andromeda or any other places that we might find interesting as well. If you guys are interested in getting a qhht past life regression, I do that. So send me an email, sydalexandriaegypt@gmail.com if you're interested. Some people end up falling asleep. Some people see sacred geometry. Some people relax enough to talk from their higher self. Some people see metaphors. Some people see scenes from previously in this current life. Some people see scenes from past lives. Some people see scenes from parallel lives or future lives. And some people get to the point where they see scenes from these other lifetimes and then also talk from that lifetime's higher self. I also do intuitive and astrological Akashic record readings where I tell you what past lives I believe you have had. I do look at fixed star galactic astrology as well to see what fixed stars and the Andromeda galaxy, if you have any major aspects to any of those, I believe that is a past life. A lot of us have connections to these fixed stars and Andromeda galaxy in our chart, but what matters is more so who we were, what we did there, and what the vibe of that life was that makes it different from everybody else who's had lives in those places as well. All right, peace out, you guys. Love you so much.